Hey there, creepy peeps. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you're returning, and welcome to a book versus movie, kind of, but not really. Subscribe for more wishy-washy content. Before I get into this, who knows what kind of video it is, I want to thank my creepy patron peeps for supporting my channel. Thank you guys so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep yourself, you can follow that link in the description. I talked about this a few times on my channel over the course of the year and on social media that I've very much been anticipating the movie Antebellum, which came out 2 weeks ago now, maybe? I also mentioned in a video or two that the plot seemed eerily similar to Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. Even though Antebellum is not an official adaptation of this, I don't even think they've officially said that it was inspired by it. So as far as we know, there's zero relation. The plots just seem similar. I also mentioned in my recent book haul that I was planning on reading Kindred in anticipation for Antebellum, although I wasn't trying to read this before the movie came out. I read this about a week after I saw the movie. So I thought, because I kept mentioning how the plots were so similar, I would compare the two, especially because a lot of people have very strong feelings about Antebellum. Speaking of, quick disclaimer, while I'm not going to spoil anything major for Kindred, I will be spoiling Antebellum. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see it and you're concerned for spoilers, this is not the video for you. Go watch the movie and then come back. Really quick, I thought Antebellum was okay. There were parts that I thought were done really well, and there were bits that I was quite disappointed in. If you want to hear my full thoughts about the movie, I'll link it up in the description. I know a lot of people did not like the movie though, and I feel like a general consensus with everyone who didn't like it was that it was an empty kind of movie. Weighty topics and the stylization are at odds, and the movie fails to say anything about the atrocities shown on screen, a point which I agree with. And Get Out did it better. That's pretty much the consensus of all the reviews I've seen and read from people who did not like the movie. So I'm here to talk about Kindred because, as I mentioned earlier in the week, just kind of an offhand comment, if you were disappointed in Antebellum, I suggested that you should read Kindred, and I'm gonna tell you why. So Kindred follows writer Dana, an African-American woman who finds herself repeatedly sent back in time to a pre-Civil War plantation in Maryland. Dana has to figure out why she keeps being brought back there before she is unable to return to her time. So Kindred has more of a sci-fi twist than Antebellum. The biggest difference being with Kindred, it's legitimate, honest to goodness time travel, and in Antebellum, big spoiler, it's all taking place in modern times. So like I said, in Kindred, Dana is legitimately being pulled back in time to the 1800s, pre-Civil War Maryland. I won't spoil why she's being pulled back there time and time again, but I will say that fact brings up an interesting discussion about like our family tree and what it means to know what our ancestors were capable of. What really sets Kindred apart for me from Antebellum is there is a legitimate, honest to goodness conversation about a modern person, or at least modern for this book. It was published in 1979, but still a modern person experiencing the atrocities of slavery firsthand, in a firsthand kind of way. And in the book, Dana is married to a white man, and there's a really interesting conversation they have, like literally they have a conversation about their experiences of this like whole time travel thing. The part that really got me was a moment where Kevin, Dana's husband, remarks that it would be fascinating to travel west during this time to see the expansion of the country firsthand, and Dana basically just kind of like lays him out and reminds him that the same exact thing is happening out west, just with different minority groups. Butler really highlights how dangerous this is for Dana by showing how safe and secure Kevin is going back in time. simply because of his skin color. That's it. And it's the kind of discussion that I wanted Antebellum to have, or that I was expecting Antebellum to have, and I just feel like it wasn't there. And even in this book, Dana experiences some manner of privilege because she's a modern woman compared to the people she meets going back in time, but she's obviously a free woman. She's a very well-educated woman. And she also has the convenience later on of some of the recurring characters in the past, at least to an extent, understanding that she's from a different time. That gives her a little bit of privilege on this plantation, but Butler is very quick to remind us time and time again that only goes as far as the color of Dana's skin ultimately. That small fact ultimately decides her fate on the plantation, and it doesn't matter how educated she is or what she can contribute to the plantation. This was such a fantastic read and miles better than Fledgling, which I will link my full review for up here. I had like major problems with this one, and everyone was telling me that I should have read Kindred because that's her best book, and you guys were right. So honestly, if you were disappointed in Antebellum like I was, you should read this. It's gonna give you that deeper conversation that I think a lot of people were missing with the movie. And honestly, if you even liked Antebellum, which is also fine, still read Kindred because it's just a really good book. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. I wasn't intending this to be like a rating sort of thing, but it's a 5 out of 5 read for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you tomorrow with some more booky content. Until then, stay strange.